You can now get all your favourite Bogglesock shows, plus lots of activities and useful parent help suggestions in an ad-free app from www.bogglesocks.com. It's free to download and register, and there's a special offer for the first 2 months. What have you got to lose? Just go to bogglesocks.com now.
Of fun places in Sunnysands, but one of the best is Miss Smiley's Cafe on the pier. Now today, Mrs. McWhiskit had come to do some baking.
Oh, it's so exciting having you in my cafe, Mrs. McWhiskit.
Mrs. McWhiskit was a famous TV cook.
On my television show, Mrs. McWhiskit Cooks for the Country, I bake cakes in shapes, Miss Smiley. So I am going to be making Sunnysands shapes.
Oh, lovely.
I am going to be making a good many cakes in shapes because I am going to be making the whole of Sunnysands in cake.
You mean the lighthouse and the beach hut and Mr. Whoops's shop? And my cafe?
Yes, all of that, dear, all of that.
Oh, everyone will be so excited to see that, Mrs. McWhiskit.
Yes, this was the day of the Great Big Sunnysands Cake Bake.
Now, I'm going to need bigger cake tins, and there's not nearly enough flour here for the whole of Sunnysands.
That's no problem. Mr. Whoops, my husband, he's going to be helping us today. Well, he's on his way here right now with more flour.
And just then the door flew open, and there he was.
My lovely jubbly hubby.
Wonder wife of mine.
Mr. Whoops is called Mr. Whoops because he's always having little accidents.
How could I be so clumsy?
Would you mind passing me the bandages, please, Mrs. McWhiskit?
Meanwhile, back at the mill on the marsh, I was playing the Captain Dumbletwit game with Grandpa.
6 extra turn, whoopee!
Suddenly we heard... It's Mr. Whoops! Mr. Whoops needed some big cake tins.
Be careful, Mr. Whoops.
She's making the whole of Sunnysands out of cake shears. I think she'll need more help.
I'll come, I can help.
Oh, good idea, Josh. Put some of the tins in your backpack.
I'll go tell Grandpa.
I can't come to the cafe today because I'm off to my flamenco class.
Oh, I did wonder. Well, what if I come by and pick Grandpa up later? I'm sure he'll want to see the whole of Sunnysands in cake.
The whole of Sunnysands in cake? Well, this I must see.
It'll be brilliant.
But if Mr. Whoops is involved in Mrs. McWhiskit's Great Big Sunnysands Cake Bake, she's going to need all the help she can get.
Not the shrinking cap, Grandpa!
Catch me if you can!
When Grandpa shrinks, as you know, he can make all kinds of magical things happen. He can fly out of the window in my toy helicopter. He can drive around in my cousin Jason's car. But today, he was going to travel in a different way.
Josh!
Jump, Grandpa, quick!
Mr. Whoops is waiting, Josh. Oh, Grandpa must have gone for a little lie down.
But of course, Grandpa hadn't gone for a little lie down. He was in my backpack. And off we went together in Mr. Whoops' car to Miss Smiley's cafe. In the cafe, Grandpa was hiding on a shelf. Mrs. McWhiskit had already baked quite a lot of Sunnysands in cake, and Mr. Whoops and Miss Smiley were getting the table ready for the display.
Another egg. I need another egg.
I'm on it.
And Mr. Whoops ran to get an egg, but yes, you've guessed. The egg flew towards Grandpa, but Grandpa pushed it away, and into the mixing bowl it went.
Well, at least it landed in the right place.
Grandpa quickly hid.
Could you just pass me one of those bandages, please, Mrs. McWhiskit?
How many more times, Miss Smiley?
Mrs. McWhiskit was about to see Grandpa, so he did this. Mrs. McWhiskit McWhiskit picked the bandage up and threw it to Miss Smiley.
I'll just take Mr. Whoops into the kitchen to put on his bandage.
Shall I get the eggshell out of the bowl?
Thank you. What a smart boy.
Grandpa was standing in a pool of eggs. But just then, Mrs. McWhiskit put some sugar in. How was I going to get Grandpa out without Mrs. McWhiskit seeing him? And then in went the butter. I had to think of something. Mrs. McWhiskit was about to turn on the mixer. Then I had an idea. Oh no!
What? What is it now?
I've dropped the eggshells on the floor. Don't tread on them.
Oh, goodness, boy. There's no need to be quite so upset. I'm used to people having little accidents around here.
And while Mrs. McWhiskit picked up the eggshell, I quickly got Grandpa out of the mixer. He needed to hide, as Mr. Whoops and Miss Smiley were coming back.
Well now, Mr. Whoops, I think it would be better for you if you went and had a cup of tea with Grandpa at the mill, as far away from me as possible.
Yes. You could bring Grandpa back with you.
I think that's a good idea. I don't think I've ever had so many little accidents. Whoops!
Oh, Mr. Whoops!
This was a disaster. I couldn't let Mr. Whoops go to the mill to get Grandpa because Grandpa wasn't at the mill. He was here. I needed an idea, and fast.
Hey, wait! Why don't we make some little people out of icing? People that live in Sunnysands. You're so good at making things, Mr. Whoops.
Mr. Whoops really is ever so good at making things.
Well, as long as he makes things as far away from me as possible.
So I took Mr. Whoops into the storeroom with the icing, and Miss Smiley came too with the bandage. With Mr. Whoops out of the way, Mrs. McWhiskit was able to get to work on the icing, and soon the great big Sunnysands cake bake was on display.
There, at last, a triumph. The whole of Sunnysands in cake.
Oh, Mrs. McWhiskit, it is wonderful. Now all we need are the people.
Just then, we came out of the storeroom.
We've got the people. Here they are.
Goodness me, it's an Egyptian mummy.
I went to find Grandpa as quickly as I could.
Whoops! Oh,
Mr. Whoops arranged all the people.
Mr. Mentor. Aunt Loretta. Oh, look, it's Grandpa. Miss Smiley, there you are.
Oh, Mr. Whoops.
And me!
Get Miss Smiley and Mr. Whoops into the kitchen. I want to be alone with Mrs. McWhiskit. We can't have her being horrid to poor Mr. Whoops.
Okay.
Well, what do you think?
They're different, but the cake is what's really important. Oh, now I've a few finishing touches to make.
Why don't we leave you alone to do that?
That's a very good idea. Come along, Mr. Whoops.
And off we went to the kitchen, leaving Grandpa to put his plan into action. He jumped off the shelf, then climbed up the table leg.
Where's my piping bag?
While Mrs. McWhiskit went to get her piping bag, Grandpa hid the model of himself and stood in its place.
Anyone can make little people out of icing, even someone who keeps having little accidents.
Oh, no, they can't.
Who said that?
I did. Mr. Whoops is brilliant at making things. Who else could have made such lifelike figures, eh?
Yes, certainly lifelike.
Mr. Whoops is a genius. And if I were you, I'd say sorry to him for being so horrid and so bossy.
Oh, right.
And let him know how grateful you are for all his help.
Well, I am.
And I suggest you hurry before all the others come to life. You don't want Loretta after you, do you?
No, I don't. Mr. Whoops! Mr. Whoops!
Oh, Mrs. McWhiskit!
Oh, Let me help you up with some McWhiskit. There we are. That's it.
Thank you. Now, I want to say sorry for being bossy, you know, and to thank you both for helping, especially you, Mr. Whoops. Your little figures give the Sunnysands world of cake such life. You are very talented.
No, you're the talented one.
No, it's you.
No, you.
Oh, no, really? It's you.
Wonderful. Now I'll go and get Grandpa. Come on, Josh.
As soon as we got to the mill, I ran upstairs. I took Grandpa out of the backpack.
Cap off, Grandpa, quick as you can.
Oh, we did it, Josh. We proved to Mrs. McWhiskit that Mr. Whoops is brilliant. She won't be bossy around him anymore.
No, she won't. And it's all because of teamwork.
Oh, you're up, Grandpa. Just as well. Mr. Whoops is waiting to take you to see the great Sunnysands cake bake.
Oh, I think I'll just stay at home if he doesn't mind. I do feel rather tired.
Oh, you miss out on all the fun. What's that all over your cardigan? Sugar? Oh, anyone would think you'd been baking, Grandpa.
Some days we get peculiar people staying at the mill on the marsh, and today a very peculiar one was having breakfast. His name was Mr. Munchmould,
Anything else, Mr. Munchmould?
More cheese, please.
and he loved cheese.
More cheese?
Oh, you can't have enough cheese.
I was playing the Captain Dumbletwig game with Grandpa.
Oh, no, a space spider's web. Miss a turn.
He wants more cheese.
More cheese? He'd look like a cheese at this rate, or smell like one. Who is this Mr. Munchmould anyway? I mean, what's he doing in Sunnysands? He sounds peculiar.
He is peculiar, Grandpa. He said he's here on business. Cheesy business.
Cheesy business, dear. I like the sound of that.
Yes, this was the day of Mr. Munchmould's cheesy business. Later that day, in Mr. Whoops's shop, my cousin Jason was buying sweets.
Right you are. Lemon bonbons.
Just then, Miss Smiley arrived with Mr. Whoops's lunch.
My lovely jubbly hubby.
Oh, wonder wife of mine.
That's what they call each other. Now they're married.
Oh, lemon bonbons. Grandpa's favourite.
He says they help him think.
I'll just put your lunch in the back, Mr. Whoops.
Suddenly, the door flew open and in marched Mr. Munchmould.
Mr. Munchmould.
Mr. Whoops.
Whoops!
Oh, Mr. Whoops.
How could I be so clumsy?
It's clear to me, Mr. Whoops, that you're not really capable of running this shop.
Oh, he is. He just has little accidents, that's all.
And someone who has little accidents should not be in charge of a shop.
But it's a brilliant toy shop. Everyone loves it.
Listen here, young man. I own this building, you see? This is all mine!
Mr. Whoops was upset.
But, Mr. Munchmould, I always pay my rent.
The fact is this, Mr. Whoops. I am now going to take over this shop, and it will no longer be a toy shop. It will be a cheese shop.
A cheese shop? But Sunnysands needs toys.
We don't need cheese.
Everywhere needs cheese. You can't have enough cheese.
You mustn't change it. We all love Mr. Whoops' shop.
My shop, young man. My shop.
But it's the best toy shop in the world.
And it will now be the best cheese shop in the world. When I'm back, I shall have a piece of paper for you to sign, Mr. Whoops, saying that you will leave at once.
He's going to make me leave my lovely toy shop.
We won't let it happen, Mr. Whoops. Grandpa will know what to do.
So, Jason, Miss Smiley and Mr. Whoops got into Mr. Whoops's car, drove out of Sunnysands and down the country lanes, and very soon they arrived here at the mill on the marsh.
A cheese shop? You can't turn the best toy shop in the world into a cheese shop.
What can we do, Grandpa? Whatever can we do?
Grandpa sucked on his lemon bonbon. Then he said,
Here's what you do. You all dash over to your shop, Mr. Whoops, and so that you're there when he comes over with that paper for you to sign. And then you explain to him that it's a terrible idea. Terrible.
I'm sure we can do that.
Well, I should be back at my cafe.
Why don't I help out with the cafe, Miss Smiley, and you can stay with Mr. Whoops?
Good idea, Jason. These bonbons are beginning to work.
Oh, Elsie, Mr. Munchmould wants to turn Mr. Whoops's shop into a cheese shop.
That's awful!
So we're going to try and stop him. Come along, everyone. I'll drop you off at the cafe, Jason.
Aren't you coming, Grandpa?
Of course I'm coming. But the only thing that'll stop Mr. Munchmould's plan is a bit of magic.
Not the shrinking cat, Grandpa!
Catch me if you can.
You know, when Grandpa shrinks, he can run so fast you can't catch him. He can hide in teeny tiny places. And he can get anywhere he wants to. Like this. Today, I thought he was coming in my backpack with me. Come on then, Grandpa.
No, I'll come in the plane. A bit later, Elsie.
And he jumped down onto the floor.
Your job will be to get everyone out of the shop except Mr. Munchmould, OK?
OK.
Then ring me.
Right.
Let it ring 3 times. I'll know it's you, and that will be my sign to set off. Right?
Right.
Off you go.
But Mr. Munchmould was not going to change his mind.
It will be magnificent. Cheese from the floor to the ceiling.
But Mr. Munchmould, everybody in Sunnysands loves Mr. Whoops and his shop.
And what's going to happen to Mr. Whoops?
I'm sure he can come and help you in the cafe, Miss Smiley. If he can stop having little accidents. Right, Mr. Whoops. Sign here.
I decided it was time to call Grandpa. Then I'd have to find a way to get everyone out of the shop, apart from Mr. Munchmould.
Aha!
I let it ring 3 times.
Off we go. I'm on my way, Elsie.
And Grandpa took off and flew out of the window towards Sunnysands and Mr. Whoops' shop, where Mr. Munchmould said,
I see none of you has anything to say.
now was my chance. Actually, I do. I have something. The thing is...
Oh, what is the thing, little girl?
Mr. Munchmould bent down to talk, and his breath smelt like old socks. The thing is, Mr. Whoops' toy shop is magic.
Magic, eh? Well, well. If things are magic, little girl, then magical things happen.
They do, if you let them. Why don't we go to Miss Smiley's cafe for ice cream? Then Mr. Munchmould can see the magic for himself.
Good idea, Elsie.
Excellent. Off you go. I can't wait for all the magic to start. Bye-bye. Goodbye, shop.
As Mr. Munchmould unpacked his cheese, Grandpa flew in.
What on earth?
He jumped out of the plane and ran, and Mr. Munchmould picked the plane up.
Very odd. Doesn't look radio controlled.
Grandpa had got on the table, and he started the train going.
What is it?
Then Grandpa went up to an alligator toy and set it working. Mr. Munchmould couldn't think what was going on.
But there's nobody here.
But there was somebody here. And he'd just wound some
I
frogs
don't
up.
believe this. This is extraordinary. What?
Bit by bit, the toy shop started to come to life, thanks to Grandpa. And when he saw a little puppet mouse, he crawled inside and went...
Hey, geek.
Mr. Munchmould heard the mouse.
I heard a mouse.
Mr. Munchmould didn't like mice.
I don't like mice.
Then I wouldn't have a cheese shop if I were you. Because mice love cheese. And I'll invite all my friends here. Yum, yum, yum.
Good grief, this is extraordinary. It's magic. Toys that work by themselves. Talking mice.
Eek, eek.
That little girl was right. This has got to be the best toy shop in the world.
Eek, eek.
And Mr. Munchmould ran to the telephone and dialed the number of Miss Smiley's cafe, and Grandpa got out of the mouse and hid.
Hello, Miss Smiley's cafe. Oh, hello, Mr. Munchmould. Yes. Yes, he is.
Come back! You must come back quickly! Your toy shop is magic!
He says it's magic. My toy shop is magic!
I knew it would be.
So did I.
We dropped Mr. Whoops and Miss Smiley back at the toy shop.
No more cheese. I promise you, no more cheese, Mr. Whoops. Just toys. Magical toys.
Grandpa was quite pleased with himself. Then Mr. Munchmould tore up the paper he'd made Mr. Whoops sign, shook Mr. Whoops by the hand,
Good luck, Mr. Whoops.
picked up his case full of cheese, and made for the door.
Goodbye, shop.
Oh, Mr. Whoops.
Miss Smiley was hugging Mr. Whoops so tightly that they didn't see Grandpa fly out of the door. And very soon he was back at the mill on the marsh. When we got home, we ran upstairs to check that Grandpa had got back safely. Cup off, Grandpa, quick!
Oh, you should be proud of Elsie, Jason. She worked wonders.
Well, both of you together worked wonders, Grandpa.
All three of us did. It was teamwork.
Teamwork.
Grandpa, there you are. I don't know what Elsie did, but she absolutely convinced Mr. Munchmould that Mr. Whoops's shop was magic.
Clever girl. What's for supper, Mum? Cheese?